Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. I'm Paige Feldman. I'm a writer and director, and on this YouTube channel, I'm documenting the making of my debut feature film from idea to premiere in real time. And today, I'm in my kitchen because a cat took over my desk upstairs. But it's also kind of appropriate that I'm in my kitchen because last time I was in here filming a video, I talked about how I was just not satisfied with the most recent draft of my script for Back to You, my contained romantic comedy feature. What do brownies have to do with me finishing a rewrite? And as you can see if you saw my short last week, I decided to get some help on that. And I got some help by deciding to pay for a rewrite lab that is hosted by script consultant David Wapple, who was a guest on this show once before, and is hosting this whole group of us writers to give each other feedback and help guide us through our rewrites, which is something I really need. And we've only had one session so far. It was sort of the introduction. I'm going to be getting my notes back on my script from somebody else tomorrow, I think. So I don't really have much to report, but something the Rewrite Lab did spark was the thought that sometimes it's really tough to get people to read your script. Now, I'm lucky enough that I have a writing group and I know a ton of amazing screenwriters who I can trade notes with not whenever I want, but occasionally, because asking someone to read your script is a big ask. But it's taken me years to build up this network. And if you're a new writer or someone who doesn't necessarily have a network for whatever reason, maybe you haven't found writers in your area who you've connected with, maybe you're really shy, or maybe you have connected with other writers, but you just are unsatisfied with their notes. I just spilled. And then maybe you ask somebody close to you to read your script once you used up all of your contacts or felt like you didn't know anyone well enough to ask them to read it. And they aren't a writer and they mean well, but they came back with notes that were really frustrating. And I'm saying this because I know this from personal experience. I've asked non-writer friends of mine to read my scripts, to read my books, and their notes, well, they tend to be less than helpful. It's stuff like, oh, I really liked that part and I thought it was good, yeah. Or, oh my gosh, but what if instead of them just going to prom, they went to prom on a spaceship? And it's I didn't want to put aliens in my movie, but I'm glad that you have an idea. As fun as it is to hear people's interpretations of your story or to just get that praise, it's not productive. So here's one thing that you can do. Why do I keep spilling? I'm gonna put this down. Good enough for now. So anyway, notes from non-writers can feel good because they might just give you blanket praise because they don't know much about analyzing a story, or can be really frustrating and full of non sequiturs if they decide that they want to rewrite your story for you instead of meeting you where you are. So I have an idea, some tips for how to turn these non-writer readers into people who can actually help you with your writing and actually help give you good notes, even if they don't know it. And this is all based on the thing that all good notes are based on, which is asking questions. And for the case of non-writer readers, you just have to learn what questions you need to ask. And luckily, I'm not going to make you go Google it, because I'm going to tell you a few good, helpful questions to ask. So instead of asking them what they think about your script or your movie or your book or your short story, whatever story you're giving them, ask them what it's about. Ask them what happens. Ask them how they would describe it to a friend if they were going to recommend it to them. Ask them who the protagonist is and what their goal is. Ask them who the antagonist is and why they want to stop the protagonist, what their motivation is, what the main setting is and why it's important. What's the most memorable scene for them? What's the theme? Ask them questions that they would be able to answer as a reader if you were hosting a book group or a movie club for your script or your novel, whatever you're writing. And you'll get some really helpful answers this way. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why are these answers helpful? Because I, as the writer, already know what this story is about and who the protagonist is, who the antagonist is, what the theme is, what the setting is. All of these questions I already know. But that's the point. Because if your reader, who is reading it for pleasure, who doesn't have the mind of a writer, the mindset of a writer to know how to break down story and how to help you make those little pieces work better, if they cannot parrot back to you your intentions, you know that you've gone wrong somewhere. If your theme is supposed to be love conquers all, and they say that your theme is that family is the most important thing, there's some parallels there. But if you're thinking about love conquers all in a romantic sense, and they're talking about family in terms of like the nuclear, like mom, dad, or even, extended uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents, all that, you know that maybe you focus too much on your family story instead of the love story you wanted to. Or if you see what their point is with the, family is the most important thing, and you like it better, then maybe you need to write the love story a little bit down, make it a little bit less important, and play up some of the family elements. So once you have all of this initial information, the best thing you can do is ask more questions. In this love conquers all versus family is the most important example, ask them what scenes led them to that conclusion. Dig into it. And even if they get the right answers, maybe dig into it further. What if they say that your protagonist and your antagonist are switched, but they have really good reasons for it? Maybe you've written an anti-hero story. And maybe you want to do that still, or maybe you don't. And you could also ask them, hey, in that case, what if my protagonist was my protagonist because they think that they're the antagonist? How would you feel about that? And if they say, you know what, I wouldn't be that interested in it, maybe there's a place to switch. Who knows? The important thing, though, is that you get as much information as possible as far as how they're reacting to the story that you've written. You don't ask them how to fix it, because unfortunately, and I'm saying this from my own experience and from my whole feelings about my own script right now, that is the hard work that you have to do and that I have to do as a writer. So once I get my first round of notes back from this rewrite lab, I will hopefully, at the very least, have a sense of what my readers are thinking. And now all of my readers in this lab are writers, so I'll hopefully have a little bit more than that. But at the very least, if I know what they're thinking, and I can see how I feel about that, see how I feel about who they think my protagonist is. Because I feel like I have two, but maybe they'll see one of the love interests as a protagonist and one as an antagonist. And that would be a really interesting observation. I'll see what they think the theme is, because I feel like multiple competing themes. I'll see what they would say the story's about. You can ask all these questions of readers, even if they are writers, and discover, at least in my case, not only what other people think about your story, but how you're reacting to what other people think. And should I make changes to my story based on those observations? And then you got to go dig in, reread your work, and make changes. And that is the work of being a writer. And it is maddening and frustrating and wonderful. And I'm really looking forward to getting my notes back so that I can do that work and fall in love with the story again, because I know it's in there somewhere. I just feel like it's wearing a big puffer coat and it's difficult to see. But regardless of who you're getting notes from, I hope these tips, these questions, will help you expand your reader base and have more people available to you to give you notes on your stories, because feedback is such an important part of the writing process. And not having a good, strong system for feedback and people who you can go to makes this process even more lonely than it already is. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you'll be able to put these questions into action, and I'll be back here next week with more of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of, and hopefully more of an update on my script and the whole rewrite of everything. Thanks y'all for watching, and I'll see you next week.